Great. Hello, Sports Beach. How's it going? So, like he said, we're here to talk about athletes as creators, and in this moment right now, it's very easy for everyone to pull out their phone and record, and it's taken a lot of different turns over the years. Megan, you've been playing professionally for a long time, and you started your career kind of before social media was what it is today. Can you tell me about how that
need
evolution?
to date me. Jeez.
Not to do that. No, you're just a legend. You're just a legend. So, can you tell me about the evolution that you've seen go on?
I mean, yeah, I started with a flip phone, and T9. I don't even think I ever learned how to do T9.
Nobody did.
But I mean, it's been like dramatic. I think the change has been dramatic. I think I got Twitter maybe in RIP to Twitter. I think I got Twitter in 2009, and it really wasn't even that integrated. And now to think players and athletes and people have their own businesses on there, and it's been such a huge part. I think of my success and of our team's success and fighting for the issues that we won, and I think just giving athletes the opportunity to speak for themselves and to say exactly what they want. You don't have to be prompted by a question. You can just get on there and speak your mind. I think it's been a seismic shift in, not just the way that sort of athletes do business, but just the business around sports in general.
Mm-hmm. And Myles, I think that pulls me into something for you. How important do you think it is for athletes to have that direct contact with fans and be able to show what you are more than just the football player that you are?
I think it's huge, especially for us as football players. We're always wearing a helmet. Most of the time they can't tell how big we are, what we look like, and they can't really get to know us. So social media is our biggest platform to getting to know our fans and then getting to know us. And for me, I didn't really start social media until I got to the pros. I kind of stayed off of it in college, and I didn't really have a lot of platforms to use. But I kind of wanted to open myself up, and was advised to when I got to the league to really open myself up to brands and to my fans and get to know the people around me. It was a good opportunity for me, and it's really helped authentically tell my story.
I think that's a really interesting piece, authenticity in this. Heather, you come at it from a brand perspective. What role do you think authenticity plays in it and building a brand that is successful?
It's interesting. From my perspective, I always think about how we tell our story from a brand perspective very authentically. And that's often through the voices of creators, not even our advertising or what have you. It's like talking and connecting with real people who use our products and letting them tell their story through the use of our products. And it's a pretty powerful way for us to show what our products are capable of through the lens of people like Megan and Myles.
And Megan, you've always used your platform to be really authentic to the beliefs that you have and used it in that way. Why has that been so important from you from day one?
Well, I mean, I don't think we've, as female athletes, always been given a sort of fair shot. So we've sort of had to do this. We've kind of had to talk about these things. We had to talk about equal pay. I would have much honestly preferred to talk about something else or not talk about anything and just play, but we didn't have that luxury. So I think it, more than just the actual platform of being able to get on and speak and show yourself and, show the parts of you that you want, I think it's been a tool for us, honestly, a revolutionary tool. And I think for athletes in general, not just female athletes, but I think we have, so many different points of intersection. It's given us a real weapon to combat so much of the inequity that we face and to get, our stories out there if we're not getting the media coverage or if it's not being covered in, the way that we feel is, truthful, then we have that ability and we have those tools to show up, and then it's up to everyone to decide if that's what they're into or not. But I think for us it just gives us the ability to get the real story, the actual story out there.
And Myles, for you, when you're thinking of being authentic and trying to do that but also building a brand, how do you make sure that you're doing that in a way that's not just worrying about the financial gain, but that it is still everything you do is authentically to yourself?
I think the foundation of positive creative thinking is really having a good team around you. I have a great team of friends and acquaintances that I've made along the way who challenged my thoughts, who pushed me to tell my story and tell it as it is. and you want to do it where it's acceptable and agreeable to brands, but you also want to tell your own story as authentically as possible, and where you can find cohesion between the two. That's where you write that fine line.
And for you, what else are you pushing out there, Myles? Like for you, what are the stories that you're most excited to tell people, that maybe people are surprised to learn about you?
Well, for me, it's like two different sides to me. I have my sports page, my main page where it's mostly football, my career, and things I'm doing in the community. But then there's the my other page in which I'm lean more into my travel, my photography, a little bit of my paleontology, my other hobbies, in which I can tell those stories authentically without alienating a crowd who's just here for maybe just the sports side, who are Browns fans, but not particularly fans of paleontology or travel. They can see what I'm reading on this side or what I'm learning and the cultures that I'm seeing without having to really get attached to all of it, and so they can stick for what they want to see.
Mm-hmm. And Megan, do you think there's a way to marry those two together, marry in your personal interests, but like have people come for the soccer fan that they are, and then follow you into your other interests as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, similar to what Myles was saying, like, I think so often people see us as this is what you see us at. You see us on TV or you see us playing, and, for us, that's part of what we do, but there's obviously, other aspects to us that are just as important, that I'm sure you feel like fuel what you're doing on the field and vice versa. And I think for us, just having places to put that, whether people want to come for the soccer or want to come for something else, is sort of up to them. But I think the most important thing is to have the space to do that, and you don't have to click on every picture or watch watch what you want, but I think for us, just having that voice and not having that controlled by a team or by a league or by whatever that sort of agenda, not in a negative way, but we're the ones that get to control sort of what we put out and how we put it out, and the stories that we want to tell, and the sort of doors that we want to open to our world.
Yeah, absolutely. Heather, how do you at Adobe empower people like Megan and Myles to really put themselves out there in that way and use the tools that you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot in sports right now. We have an amazing partnership with the National Women's Soccer League. We work with the PGA, MLB, teams around the world. And what we're trying to do is actually work with athletes and teams to help them tell their stories on our brand. So we do training classes with NWSL athletes so that they can learn to use our products and learn to tell their stories in authentic ways. We work closely with members of the MLB to help them craft their own templates so they can share with their fans, to share and express their fandom of their team. And so there's a lot of things that we're doing to lean in to help support athletes in telling their stories in really creative, original ways.
And how important do you think it is for them to have that tools, and because everyone can be a creator, but maybe it's not accessible to everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the tools are going to really unlock them being able to tell their story in the way that is uniquely them, right? Like, I know we were talking beforehand about tools like Lightroom, where you can, edit a photograph in a way that is kind of uniquely your style, and that enables you to show up authentically, like we were just talking about. And so I think it's a really important piece of the equation. And there's just amazing, easy things you can do with our tools right now that can do just that, bring your story to life.
And Myles, as a player in the NFL, being one of roughly 1,700 at the current time, right? How do you make sure that what you're creating breaks through the noise? I mean, there's so much content out there.
I'm not particularly trying to break through the noise. I'm just trying to be as, genuine to myself as possible. I think that's what breaks through at the end of the day. You continue to be yourself and not try to take away from anyone else's shine. I think that's what appeals to most people more often than not. You're honest, you're true to yourself, and you keep on putting out things that align with you. That'll get people on board. More than just trying to grab people's attention by doing things that you think will appeal to them. Always be yourself.
Megan, one of the things when I was talking to your team, they had mentioned that you're really passionate about being a curator and finding other people's stories to tell. Why is that important to you? And can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I think at some point when you get this old, you're like, I don't want to talk about myself anymore. I feel like my story's been told a lot. And I think just, being a player for so long, but being in and around the game and in and around the business for a long time, I feel like I have a lot to offer just in terms of the eye of what stories I think are cool and what stories I think are important, and just kind of looking at what stories are missing or what are we not really getting enough of. So I feel a lot of it probably comes from me not wanting to talk about myself anymore, pushing 40. I'm like, you guys get it, soccer, sports, things. But I feel like, having that experience in the business and having that kind of eye just through the years that I've played, hopefully I can point people at least to stories that I find interesting. I don't know if everybody will find them interesting, but, things that I didn't know, or things that are inspiring to me, or underrepresented stories that just really don't get told. I think that's kind of where I feel like I have some experience or something to give in terms of getting stories out there.
So that goes into the business of you starting a Touch More and really starting this production company, because being a creator is more than just social media, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think athletes by nature are creative. Like, I think people think of sports as like, okay, how fast can you run and how can you do this? But it's like nobody's going to get around the edge like Myles it. Like, that's just the way that he does it is unique to him. The way that I play is unique to me, and there's a million people before, a million people after. But I think just by nature of being an athlete, you're constantly trying to figure it out from the time you're 2 years old, figuring out how to ride a bike until, you're in your sport. So I always loved the creativity. I always, tried to sprinkle that into my game as much as possible. I also have a lot of interests off the field. I'm only on the field, a few hours a day, and you only play so much. And then there's like the rest of your life. We, are so lucky we get to travel and see parts of the world, and, are influenced by so many different people. So I think for me, I've always tried to be creative. And then I think my experience in sports, sort of what I was just saying, of like, okay, this is where I feel like is missing. This is what I would like to see more, using the platform that Sue and I have and the popularity that we have. And I think being white women and being really successful as well, gives us the ability maybe to get into rooms that not everybody gets to get into. And hopefully we can keep that door open behind us and try to break down those barriers that have existed for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. Myles, yeah, that's right. Clap it up, right? Freaking mic drop. Myles, for you, what is the things that beyond social media for you that you feel is you being a creator?
Piggybacking off of what she said, Megan's completely right. As far as being a player, you're asked to be a problem solver and be creative in what you do. Every time you step on the field, whether that's practice or playing the game, you're a unique combination of skills, talents, personality. Every time you step on the field, each a person of 11 is. So how you choose to find your way to assist a goal or make a goal or get to the quarterback, all those things are unique to that one person, and how you choose to solve that problem or tell your story authentically will be different from person to person. Mm-hmm. So, anyone else that in the league is also a very different player or different person, but they're just as creative, just in their own way. As far as myself, I've been a user of Lightroom for years, and being able to edit my pictures, use templates from other creators and friends, and being able to blow up my pictures, whether that's to use for auction, try to give those to charity. Work with different organizations around Cleveland to use those to create opportunities for those who are less fortunate. Use that as a touch point for schools and organizations to try and drive schools to be a little bit more attentive to getting kids a little bit more out and focusing on their studies, get them to use that creativity that may be not as nurtured in schools as when we were growing up. So I think that's big for us to continue to keep on pushing those narratives and agendas that your creativity doesn't just stop when you're on social media or when you're on the field. It's a combination of the two, and you have to be that person all the time, and we all are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Heather, how does that feel? Myles used Lightroom.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, and it's a good reminder, like, just because you're not in the creative industry doesn't mean you're not creative, right? Like, we're all creative, and sometime along the way we forget that, right? And I think that's what's kind of magical about the moment we're in right now is we have these amazing tools. We have social media platforms or any platform that can help us all tell our stories, and it's an important reminder to all of us that we need to tap into that creative part of ourselves, and we all have a platform now, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. For you, Heather, can you talk a little bit more about, everyone here has talked a lot about authenticity, talking about how building that into your brand success is really important?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting right now. I think the way that brands are built is fundamentally different than it has been in the past, right? Like, it used to be all about advertising, and now it's all about how you build real connections with your customers and how you can tap into that insight about what you mean to them, what they need in their lives. And so the best way to do that is through kind of more of that one-to-one connection. We use our social channels, we use partnerships with athletes and other creators to help us tell that story. And I think it's really an important part of how brands are built these days. Mm-hmm. They're not built with an ad, they're built with real connection to the product, and connecting with the things that people care about. Like, they have a fandom of football or soccer, and so how can we show up in those places where they already are and they're already expressing their passions is really powerful for us as a brand.
And Megan, for you, how has being able to create and having the social media brand really propelled you and your business opportunities, do you think?
I think social media has been huge, especially the sort of early stage for female athletes and people who don't always have, I don't know how many people watch y'all's games it's like 100 of the 100 most watched events are always the NFL games. So for us that don't have that platform, it gives us space to get out there whatever we want to, whether that's something that we're talking about. So many athletes have clothing brands or have other sort of creative ventures that they get out. They get the opportunity to have out there, or even just like getting on and talking. Mm-hmm. A little bit to your point, it's like it's not just one lane, one thing, one way. Mm-hmm. Now. Like, I think that brands are wanting to meet people where they are. I think athletes are wanting to meet people where they are. I think people want something more specific or more niche. Like, maybe it doesn't reach 50 million people, but it reached 1 million. That's a lot. Mm-hmm. So I think it just gives us the space. I think early on, to be honest, it gave us the ability to have a business and to grow that business, and honestly to kind of like prove wrong everybody that's like, oh, nobody wants to watch this, or nobody wants to
everybody watches women's sports,
everybody
right?
watches women's sports. Yes. Shout out the homies. But I think it gave us that space to just say, like, okay, that's fine. You don't want it. You don't have to watch it. But, like, let me just put it out there and we'll just see. Let me just see how it goes. But I think it really did. And I think the thing about sports, too, and talk about storytelling and authenticity, like, that's what we love about sports. Like, we like to watch the game, but we like to know what that person dresses like, what kind of books they like to read. We like to know where they're from. We like to know what their sense of humor is like. Maybe they have no sense of humor, and maybe that's funny. It's like, is Kawhi funny? Yes. Like, he's funny because he's not funny. Yeah. But it just gives you that opportunity to bring more of yourself and bring a more holistic picture. And then, for whatever reason people stay. Maybe they just really love soccer, or maybe they, are connecting to the activism, or maybe they like the fits that players are walking in with, whatever it may be. You give people that opportunity, but it gives more. Mm-hmm. And I think for us, it really gave us the opportunity to present ourselves for the world and sort of prove wrong everything.
And a lot of the times when you look at the numbers for female athletes, and their followers aren't as high, but the engagement is really high. Do you think that's because, as a female athlete, you've had to be more native in this space and more creative, really, in what you post?
Yeah, definitely. yeah, I'm not sure if I was like making $100 million if I would have done it as much. It's like the incentives are different. But I think it's also, given us a space, again, with the activism space and the equality and being able to fight for that, I think it's given it a real home. But yeah, I do think for female athletes, we've had to do things differently. We've had to be entrepreneurs. We've had to start our own businesses. We've had to, sort of create our brand strategies ourselves. So I just think there's a well-roundedness to us that we get to bring to the forefront, and whether it's social media or just sort of the growing, interest in sports, it's given everybody a larger look, and they seem engaged.
Mm-hmm. And Myles, you said that you hadn't really started doing it until you were a pro. Was there anything that when you first started creating, you first started putting yourself out there, that you found kind of challenging at first?
Found challenging. It was just hard to even know what to say. Getting on a platform that I had never used, I was kind of just lost in what to post, what to say. It's like, do I post food? Like, do I selfies? Like, what's really going on out here? But no, I kind of just got the flow of things. Ask friends, ask my peers who are also in the league, and kind of taking their lead. But also, looking at many different athletes, whether I was on the female side or on the male side. I think females really have to diversify themselves earlier on to get the kind of attention and the love that male athletes do. We can kind of get away with keeping our heads down and attacking our sports, and we can just claim followership off of that. But they have to be bigger than their sports to reach those brand deals and reach that audience that we get tapped into maybe from TV or partnerships that come a little bit easier. And so we kind of have to learn those lessons a little bit over the time, where they have to pick up those things earlier on. And so following their lead and how they maybe post their fits, or how they showing what their interests, and how, like Megan was saying, seeing if you have a sense of humor or if you don't. But yeah, those things were a lot easier being able to see posters like Megan, Kelsey Plum, but also some other athletes in my field, and really combining the two to tell my story.
And, for you, it was a different time, but now those athletes kind of have to do that in college, right? Because of NIL and everything like that. What would do you have any advice for, NIL athletes who are having to navigate this space like really early on?
Yeah, it's happening quicker than ever nowadays. As soon as you're getting into college, you're having brands and all kinds of sponsorships thrown at you. But always keep your mind on what's in front of you, and that's your work and your schooling, and it'll always come back to you. A lot of those things maybe fleeting, or God forbid there's an injury. You have to continue to study the things and work on the things that'll carry you after everything's over. Like you said, there's only so many hours we can be on the field. There's only so many years that we can play this thing, and then afterwards we have to continue to carry on with what we have left. And that's all about the partnerships and the relationships that you make along the way. So make sure you meet and shake hands with everyone. You build those authentic relationships, those true relationships, and you don't squander any opportunities. Get out, extend yourself, and put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, so that once you're finished playing, you can be comfortable.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, so that you can be comfortable when you're not in those situations anymore. Heather, for you, what would advice would you give to young creators who are starting to get into this space?
Yeah, I mean, maybe building off of what Myles said, is that, just remembering that everyone has a story to tell, right? And especially on the sports side of things, sports are some of the most incredible stories out there. I mean, when I think about the movies I love, the documentaries I watch, they're about the poetry of sports and the hard work and the payoff and the struggle to get there. And I think people realizing that it's not just, will someone listen to me? What's going on? It's like, no, you have a story to tell, and there's amazing ways to tell it, and people will listen. So I think it's just helping people feel empowered that they too can put something out in the world, and people will listen.
Mm-hmm. And in this world, though, where everyone can be a creator, what do you think, you try and get specific on for creators to really hone in on themselves and really, I mean, Myles said he didn't want to cut through the noise, but maybe some people do.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be different for everyone. I mean, you each have different approaches, right? And I think it's about finding, again, what's true to you, and finding your voice. Probably testing lots of different things. Like if there's a passion like photography, like Myles has, using that. You know, if there's a stand that you want to take, using that. I think it goes back to authenticity. So really finding the tools, the platforms, the channels that feel like you, and finding your unique way to celebrate what you're all about. And because listen, I'm sitting here representing a brand, but you each have your own brands, right? And as individuals, and so it's no different on my side as from there. Any athlete needs to tell their own unique story.
Mm-hmm. Megan, for you, when you're creating, what have been the most helpful tools for you, and as you've gone through the different stages of it for yourself?
I mean, I think especially early on, as I've said before, the social media platforms, definitely the sort of earlier versions of them were great because it gave you something, you know. I'm not extremely well versed in the Botox or the creativity. I would like to be, but I know a lot of people who are, or people who know how to. Whip up an amazing presentation or edit a photo or put something together, edit a video and put it on. I think those things are so accessible now and so easy to use in everybody's fingertips that it makes it easy to tell your authentic story through that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are wrapping up here, but Myles, I'd love to touch again, when you're talking about the specific things that you create. How have you been able to use that to differentiate yourself as an athlete, as a creator? I mean, why do you have two separate pages?
Because to me, it's like two unique frequencies. And, this frequency aligns with some people. And while this other frequency, this photography side, my sense of humor, the books, maybe me, traveling to different countries. This all appeals to a lot of different people. I don't want to alienate one side or another. There's a certain amount of fandom and fanship that I've created completely separate of football, and I don't want that to become diluted or get lost among people who just want to be along for the football side of things. So I want to be able to appeal to them and talk to them and be a part of their journey and them a part of mine without feeling like they're getting caught up in just the football side of things or vice versa.
So really tapping into the different fan, because everyone's here for different reasons. Some people might not be a fan just because you're a football player, right? All right, absolutely. Thanks so much, guys. Heather, Myles, Megan, thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much, Sports Beach.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.